Great, perfect timing. Mommy's here. I'm Mara Whitlock. And this is Josie. She's 3. I know this isn't exactly what you signed up for.
Would you like me to prepare a high chair? No, thank you. We're okay.
Before we continue, if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because by the end of this story, you're going to want to see what happens next in the next one. Now let's get back to it.
My babysitter canceled 20 minutes before I was supposed to leave. My sister was supposed to come, but she's stuck in Denver. I almost texted to cancel on you. I don't know why I didn't.
I'm glad you didn't. And I mean that. Can I get you anything?
Water's fine. And thank you for not walking out.
I don't walk out on people. Not anymore.
Something in the way he said it told Mara there was a story behind those words.
So, besides surprising strangers at restaurants, what should I know about you?
Oh, where to begin? Well, I'm Mara Whitlock. I work too much, drink too much coffee, and probably apologize too often. I moved to Ashford Hills 2 years ago. I thought starting over would be easier than it has been. I work at Grantham Memorial.
I'm
a pediatric nurse, which is funny because I spend all day taking care of children, and then I come home and take care of my favorite one. I pick up double shifts whenever I can. Daycare isn't cheap, and neither is rent.
She looks so peaceful.
She's had a long day.
Daddy,
Hey there, sleepyhead.
did you have a good nap?
We're right here. You know, when my sister arranged this date, I expected a normal dinner, but I think normal might be overrated.
So what about you? I've talked enough about my chaos.
Quiet. I restore old buildings, mostly historic homes and old properties that people have forgotten about.
That actually sounds interesting.
I'm renovating a brownstone on Delancey Street. It's been standing for almost 100 years. I guess I like fixing things that people think are beyond saving. My sister Claire has been trying to set me up for over a year.
Seriously?
I finally ran out of excuses.
Why did you keep saying no?
I was engaged 2 years ago. Her name was Vanessa. 3 weeks before the wedding, I found out she had been seeing someone else. Almost the entire engagement. Someone with more money.
I'm sorry. Not the kind of sorry people say because they don't know what else to say. I mean, I'm really sorry.
Funny, isn't it? 2 strangers sitting at dinner, both carrying things they never planned to carry. What about you? Josie's father?
That's a longer story. His name is Grant Holloway. We were together almost 4 years. I really thought we were happy. Then I got pregnant, and everything changed. He said he wanted kids. At least that's what he told me. But when Josie was born, something changed. He didn't leave all at once. I almost wish he had. He just became distant. Like being a father was something he regretted. By the time Josie was 6 months old, he was already gone emotionally. then one day, while I was at work, he packed up his things and left.
He just left?
That's not even the worst part. 3 months ago, his mother passed away. Turns out she left a trust fund for any grandchildren. $12 million. Split evenly. Suddenly, Grant remembered he had a daughter. I just don't understand how he could do this. Suddenly, he wants custody. Not because he wants Josie. Because whoever has primary custody controls her share of the trust until she's 18.
He's suing you for custody. Over money.
His lawyer sent papers 2 weeks ago. I have a hearing in 6 weeks. And I make $41,000 a year. He makes $400,000. And he has a law firm on retainer. I don't know how I'm supposed to fight that. I shouldn't be dumping all this on a first date.
She's sleeping so peacefully. You both look so beautiful. I think that you're the strongest person I've met in a long time.
When Josie finally stirred awake near the end of the night, blinking up at the unfamiliar restaurant lights, Mara introduced her to Nathan, and the little girl studied him with the serious, unblinking gaze only a 3-year-old can manage. "Are you Mommy's friend?" Josie asked. "I'd like to be," Nathan said. Josie considered this for a long moment, then held out a small stuffed rabbit missing one ear. "You can hold Bun Bun. He likes new friends." Nathan took the rabbit with the gravity of a man accepting an award. "Thank you, Josie. I'll take good care of him." Mara watched the exchange with something loosening in her chest, some tightly wound thing she'd carried for months finally easing. Outside, under the awning, while they waited for Mara's rideshare, Nathan asked if he could see her again. "I have to warn you," Mara said. "This isn't going to be easy. There's a custody battle coming. There's going to be ugliness. Grant doesn't lose gracefully." "I don't scare easily," Nathan said. "Everyone says that until they meet Grant Holloway." "Try me." Mara studied him in the glow of the streetlight, this stranger who had sat through an ambush of a first date and hadn't flinched once. "Okay," she said finally, "try me." Over the following weeks, Nathan became a quiet, steady presence in Mara and Josie's life. He picked up Josie from daycare when Mara's shifts ran long. He fixed the leaking faucet in her apartment without being asked. He learned the theme songs to every cartoon Josie loved and sang them badly on purpose to make her laugh. Slowly, carefully, Mara let herself fall for him, terrified the whole time that it was too good to survive contact with reality. There was a Sunday morning, 3 weeks in, when Nathan showed up at Mara's apartment with pancake mix and a bag of blueberries, because Josie had mentioned once, in passing, that blueberry pancakes were her favorite. Mara stood in the doorway of her tiny kitchen and watched him let Josie crack the eggs, even though half the shell ended up in the bowl. Watched him laugh instead of getting frustrated. Watched him wipe batter off his shirt and declare it an improvement. "You don't have to do all this," Mara said quietly, once Josie had run off to watch cartoons and left them alone with the dishes. "I know I don't have to," Nathan said, drying a plate. "I want to." "People say that," Mara said. "Grant said that too, in the beginning." Nathan set the plate down and turned to face her fully. I'm not going to spend the rest of whatever this is competing with a ghost, Mara. I can't promise you I'm perfect. But I can promise you I'm not going anywhere the first time things get hard. If anything, that's usually when I show up more. Mara didn't answer right away. She just crossed the small kitchen and kissed him, soft and certain, the first time she'd kissed anyone since Grant had left. And it felt less like starting something new and more like finally exhaling a breath she'd been holding for 2.5 years. Okay, she whispered against his mouth. Okay. From then on, there was no pretending it was casual. Nathan started leaving a spare toothbrush at her apartment. Josie started calling him Nay Nay because she couldn't quite manage Nathan, and the name stuck, and he wore it like an honor. On weekends, the three of them wandered the farmer's market on Bellhurst Avenue, Josie riding on Nathan's shoulders, pointing at every dog they passed like it was the first dog she'd ever seen. It was, Mara thought more than once, the first time in years her life had felt like it was building towards something instead of just surviving. Reality arrived on a Tuesday afternoon in the form of a black car parked outside Mara's building. Grant Holloway stepped out of it, wearing a suit that cost more than Mara's monthly rent, sunglasses pushed up into his perfectly styled hair. Mara froze on the sidewalk, Josie's hand gripped tight in hers. Mara, Grant said, smiling the smile she used to think was charming, and now recognized as calculated. You're looking well. What are you doing here? Mara asked, pulling Josie slightly behind her. Can't a father visit his daughter? Grant asked, crouching down to Josie's level. Josie shrank back against her mother's legs. You don't get to do that, Mara said, her voice shaking with fury she was trying to keep controlled for her daughter's sake. You don't get to show up after 2.5 years and play Father of the Year. My lawyer says I have visitation rights pending the hearing, Grant said, standing back up, the smile gone now, something colder underneath it. I'm exercising them. Your lawyer sent that filing 3 days ago. There's no court order yet. There will be, Grant said. And when there is, you'll wish you'd been more cooperative. Nathan arrived at that exact moment, walking up from where he'd parked, and something in his face went very still when he saw the scene in front of him. Everything all right here? Nathan asked, coming to stand beside Mara. Grant looked him up and down with open contempt. And who's this? The new boyfriend? Careful, Mara. Men like this don't stick around once the money runs out. And trust me, once I have Josie, the money runs out. You need to leave, Nathan said, his voice quiet, but carrying an edge Mara hadn't heard from him before. Or what? Grant asked, stepping closer. Or I call the police and explain to them exactly why a man with no custody order is trying to approach a child against her mother's wishes, Nathan said. Your call. Grant's jaw worked for a moment, calculating. Then he laughed, a short, ugly sound, and stepped back toward his car. Enjoy this while it lasts, he said to Mara. In 6 weeks, none of this matters. I win, or I make sure you're too broke to fight me. Either way, I get what I came for. He drove off, and Mara sank down onto the front step, shaking. Nathan sat beside her, pulling both her and Josie into his arms. I can't lose her, Mara whispered. I can't. You won't, Nathan said. I promise you, you won't. 2 days later, Grant escalated. He showed up at Grantham Memorial during Mara's shift, charming his way past the front desk with a bouquet of flowers he clearly hadn't paid for himself, telling the nurses he was just checking on the mother of his child. Mara's supervisor, a stern but fair woman named Ellen Marsh, pulled her into the break room afterward. I don't know what's going on in your personal life, Ellen said, not unkindly. But I can't have that man showing up here disrupting the floor. Handle it, or I'll have to write you up. I'm trying, Mara said, her voice cracking. You don't understand what he's capable of. Then get a restraining order, Ellen said, because next time it won't just be a warning. Mara left work that day feeling smaller than she had in months, like the walls Grant had once built around her were closing back in. She didn't call Nathan right away. She sat in her car in the hospital parking garage and cried until she couldn't anymore, furious at herself for how easily he could still make her feel powerless. When she finally told Nathan that evening, his face went through something complicated. Anger, worry, and then a kind of quiet resolve that steadied her more than any promise could have. He's trying to scare you into giving up, Nathan said. That's all this is. A man with no real case tries to win by making you too exhausted to fight. It's working, Mara admitted. Not while I'm here, Nathan said. Tomorrow, we go see my sister. Today, we get you a restraining order. And starting now, you don't handle Grant Holloway alone. Not ever again. That night, after Josie was asleep, Nathan sat at Mara's kitchen table and made a phone call. It was to a woman named Claire Cole, his sister, a family law attorney with a reputation sharp enough to cut glass. I need your help, Nathan said. It's serious, and it's personal. Claire listened to the whole story without interrupting, and when Nathan finished, she was quiet for a moment. $12 million is a strong motive for a man who never wanted a kid to suddenly want one, Claire said. Men like that leave trails. Get me everything. Emails, texts, financial records if she can get them. If he's only after the money, I guarantee he's already made mistakes trying to get it. Over the following weeks, Claire built the case with methodical precision. She subpoenaed Grant's financial records and found something Mara hadn't known. Grant had been let go from his executive position at Holloway Dynamics 8 months earlier for what the company vaguely called irregularities, and had been quietly living off dwindling savings ever since. The custody suit wasn't about love. It wasn't even really about greed in the abstract. It was about a man drowning in debt who had found a life raft with his daughter's name on it. Claire also found messages, sloppy, arrogant messages Grant had sent to a friend, bragging about how easy it would be to get the kid for a couple years, control the trust, and set myself up. He hadn't expected anyone to ever see them. He'd been careless because he'd never respected Mara enough to think she could fight back. The hearing arrived on a gray Thursday morning in October. Mara sat at the plaintiff's table in a borrowed blazer, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Grant's lawyer opened with practiced confidence, painting Mara as unstable, overworked, unable to provide financial stability for a growing child, someone drowning under the weight of night shifts and rent she could barely afford. He painted Grant as a reformed man, ready to step into fatherhood, financially secure, eager to give his daughter opportunities her mother couldn't. Then it was Claire's turn. She rose slowly, methodically, and placed a single folder on the table in front of the judge. Your Honor, Claire said, opposing counsel would like this court to believe my client is unfit, and Mr. Holloway is a devoted father stepping up to provide. I'd like to submit Exhibit A, a text message sent by Mr. Holloway 11 weeks ago, 3 days after his mother's will was read. The message was displayed on the courtroom screen. Grant's own words, in his own handwriting, plain for the judge to read. Get the kid for a couple years, control the trust, set myself up, then who cares what happens after she turns 18? A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Grant's face drained of color. That's taken out of context, Grant said, half rising from his seat before his lawyer yanked him back down. Would you like to explain the context, Mr. Holloway? Claire asked, turning to face him directly. Please, enlighten the court. What context makes "who cares what happens after she turns 18" an acceptable thing for a father to say about his own daughter? Grant said nothing. His lawyer whispered something urgent in his ear. No further questions for this exhibit, Your Honor, Claire said. But I do have questions for Mr. Holloway directly, if the court will allow. The judge nodded, and Grant was called to the stand, his composure fraying with every step. Mr. Holloway, Claire began, when was the last time you saw your daughter before this custody suit was filed? Grant hesitated. It's been a while. Would a while be accurate to say 2.5 years? I've been busy. Busy, Claire repeated. Doing what, exactly? Your employment records show you were terminated from Holloway Dynamics 8 months ago. What have you been doing with your time since then, Mr. Holloway? Objection, Grant's lawyer said weakly. Relevance. I'll allow it, the judge said, leaning forward with visible interest now. Answer the question. Grant's jaw clenched. Looking for opportunities. I'd also like to submit Exhibit B, Claire continued, unshaken. Documentation from Holloway Dynamics confirming Mr. Holloway's termination 8 months ago for misappropriation of company funds. Funds he has not repaid, and debts totaling over $300,000 that he has concealed from this court in his financial disclosure. Grant's lawyer shot to his feet. Objection, Your Honor. This is... Overruled, the judge said flatly, her eyes fixed on Grant with open disgust. Sit down, counselor. Claire wasn't finished. Meanwhile, Your Honor, my client has worked double shifts as a pediatric nurse for 2.5 years, alone, without a single dollar of support from Mr. Holloway, who has not seen his daughter, called his daughter, or sent so much as a birthday card in that entire time, until the day he learned there was money attached to her name. The courtroom was silent. Mara felt tears sliding down her face, not from fear this time, but from something like relief finally breaking loose after years of holding it back. The judge did not take long to decide. She granted Mara full physical and legal custody, terminated Grant's visitation pending a formal fitness evaluation he never showed up for, and referred the embezzlement evidence directly to the district attorney's office. 3 months later, Grant Holloway was indicted on charges of fraud and misappropriation of corporate funds. He would spend the next 4 years in a federal courtroom instead of a custody courtroom, fighting a battle he had no hope of winning, exactly the way he'd once cornered a woman he never respected enough to fear. Outside the courthouse, Mara stood on the steps in the pale October sunlight, Josie's hand in hers, Nathan beside her, and for the first time in years, she let herself believe it was truly over. It's done, she said, almost like she didn't trust the words. It's done, Nathan confirmed. Josie tugged on Nathan's sleeve. Can we get ice cream now? Nathan laughed, lifting her up onto his shoulders. I think that's exactly what today calls for. They walked down the courthouse steps together, an unlikely little family formed out of chaos and a shattered wine glass and a sleeping child who had no idea that night at Rosemont's that she was about to change 2 people's lives forever. If you're loving this story so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because there are so many more stories like this one coming your way. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think is going to happen next. Winter came, and with it, Quiet mornings in the brownstone Nathan had spent a year restoring, now filled with the sound of Josie's laughter echoing off freshly painted walls. Mara moved in slowly, cautiously, the way someone moves when they've been burned before and are still learning to trust warmth again. Nathan never rushed her. He simply stayed every day, proving with small, consistent acts what Grant had never bothered to prove with grand ones. On a snowy evening in December, 14 months after that first disastrous, wonderful dinner at Roseman's, Nathan got down on one knee in the kitchen, while Josie clapped her hands and shouted that Bun Bun wanted to see the ring too. Mara said yes before he even finished the question, laughing and crying at the same time, and Josie, without anyone asking her to, wrapped her small arms around both of them and declared that now they were a real family, official, and everything. They married the following June in a small garden ceremony. Josie as the flower girl, scattering petals with the seriousness of someone completing a very important job. Claire stood as maid of honor, having become something between a sister and a guardian angel to them both. When the officiant asked if anyone objected to the union, the only sound was Josie's small voice from the front row asking loudly if it was time for cake yet, and the whole garden dissolved into laughter. Grant Holloway remained in prison, his trust fund frozen in litigation, his name a quiet cautionary tale among people who once envied him. Mara rarely thought of him anymore. There simply wasn't room for him in the life she'd built, a life that started, improbably, with an apology and a sleeping child and a stranger who chose to stay instead of walking away. Years later, when Josie was old enough to ask how her parents met, Mara would tell her the story of the wine glass, the blind date, and the man who took a stuffed rabbit missing one ear as seriously as any gift he'd ever received. And every single time, Josie would ask the same question. Did he really keep Bun Bun? And every single time, Nathan would reach into the drawer of the hallway table, pull out a slightly worn, one-eared stuffed rabbit, and hand it back to her with a smile. "Told you," he'd say. "I take care of the things that matter." If this story moved you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more, and share it with someone who believes in second chances. Thank you for watching until the very end.